Having survived the dark ages of Whedonless television, a new golden age is approaching as master storyteller Joss Whedon teams up with HBO, a network that won't air his show out of order and then cancel it after one season, for his eagerly anticipated return to television with a new Victorian-era sci-fi epic, The Nevers. I'm Tig.
And I'm Heather. Welcome to WhedonCon 2020 and to the Nevers podcast panel. The Nevers is a new HBO show by Joss Whedon that we're extremely excited for. And once we share the premise, the cast, and the creative team, we hope you will be too.
And I'm Gina. We are a group of Whedon fans, of course, who host a bi-weekly podcast aptly named The Nevers Podcast. We try to make it easy. We're committed to discussing and dissecting Joss's upcoming HBO series, and we invite you to listen in as we review and analyze every single episode, speculate, and discuss any news as it pertains to the show. I'm Gina, like I said a little earlier. I live in Los Angeles, California. Hopefully there will be a Nevers premiere and the world isn't ending anymore, so I'll be able to attend. And yeah, I'm obviously obsessed with all of Joss Whedon's works. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is my favorite, and I was actually introduced to it in college. So I was not a young person when I saw it, and it changed my life. I honestly wouldn't be in LA wanting to be a writer if I hadn't seen it.
I'm Tig. I'm the English one from sunny-ish London town. My history with Joss's work is fairly similar to everyone else's. I saw Buffy one night on television and was like, wow, this is cool. I thought it kept watching and it just kept getting better and better. I then found out he had all these amazing other shows, so I watched them too, and I've not stopped watching since.
I'm Heather. I'm from Denver, Colorado, and I found Joss. I actually saw the original movie in theaters, but I didn't make the connection. And I came into the Whedonverse through Firefly and then decided to watch Buffy. So there you have it. I'm sure many of you want to know what The Nevers is about. The Nevers follows in the footsteps of Buffy the Vampire Slayer with a fantastical story and powerful female characters.
The series is an epic sci-fi drama with a twist that reimagines the superhero genre for the 1800s as a gang of Victorian women known as the Touched, who find themselves with unusual abilities, ruthless enemies pursuing them at every turn, and they must fight to stay one step ahead while attempting to carry out a mission that might very well change the world forever.
So why are we excited for the Nevers? We're just going to push Joss out of the way because obviously if we said it, that would be all of our answers because it's a new series by Joss. Yeah. I am excited for it to be a period piece. I'm super excited about that. I love period drama, especially the Victorian and Tudor areas. So that's my big thing. That's why I'm really psyched about it. Gina?
Oh my God. Okay. Luckily, since Buffy has aired, there's been a lot of more feminist TV shows and characters, but I feel like we need one for 2020 and the future. And I feel like The Nevers is going to be that TV show that, Whedon fans have been waiting for, that like, oh, what feminist shows are out there? Oh, The Nevers. Like that's going to be the answer on everyone's lips, hopefully. So that's what I'm excited for.
How about you, Tig?
Well, for me, it's Victorian era and it's sci-fi. So to me, that screams steampunk. And as a huge fan of steampunk and having lost my current edge with Into the Badlands, I need more. So I'm fingers crossed that we're going to be getting some good steampunk and some great action, all the hallmarks of Joss.
So who's involved behind the cameras? Obviously, Joss Whedon, creator of Buffy, creator of Angel, creator of Firefly, creator of Dr. Horrible, creator of Dollhouse, director of the Avengers Part 2, and helping to construct the Marvel Universe. What more can we say? Along the ride with him is some of his compadres from many, many different properties. Jane Espenson, who, if you're any sort of fan of Buffy or the Jossverse, know her. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, True Calling, Battlestar Galactica, Dollhouse, and Jessica Jones. And Doug Petrie, who, besides Buffy, was involved with Pushing Daisies, American Horror Story, and Daredevil.
Love Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
We also have Bernadette Caulfield, who's going to be EP, who worked on Game of Thrones, Big Love, and The X-Files, one of the greatest shows of all time. And Duncan McGough, who's on producer. His credits go for Game of Thrones, The Bourne Ultimatum, and Captain America.
And we also have Greg Spence. He's a producer. His credits are Game of Thrones and John Adams, so he's worked with HBO. Seamus McGarvey, one of my favorite cinematographers. His credits is The Hours, Atonement, The Avengers. And another cinematographer is Ben Smith. Credits include The Hollow Crown, Downton Abbey, and Goodbye Christopher Robin, which is so good. And another cinematographer is Kate Reed. Yay for female cinematographers.
Yes.
Credits include Call the Midwife, Marcella, and Hannah.
We also have Michelle Clapton, who is a esteemed costume designer, also Game of Thrones. Do you see a pattern here? The Crown and The Kingsman. Christine Blundell, an Oscar-winning makeup and hair artist, Finding Neverland, Sherlock Holmes, and Wonder Woman.
And of course, the whole show is produced by HBO and Joss's mutant enemy, Arg. So, of course, that's the behind-the-scenes talent. What about the in-front-of-the-screen talent?
Ooh, the cast.
The all-important cast. These are the faces we will be hopefully falling in love with over the next 15 to 20 years. We have Laura Donnelly, who most people will know from Outlander. She's playing Amalia True, the most reckless, impulsive, and emotionally damaged hero of her time. A menace to stuffy Victorian society, she would die for the cause and kill for a drink. Backing her up is the untouchable Olivia Williams, one of the greatest actresses ever her generation, who you'll know from Counterparts and, of course, from Dollhouse. She's playing Lavinia Bidlow, a wealthy spinster and champion of the touched. Lavinia funds the orphanage where Amalia and many of the touched live through her vast family fortune. She is stern and old-fashioned, but as strong-willed and clever as anyone she confronts.
Dreamy James Norton from Grantchester. He was also in Little Women, which I really loved him in that. He plays Hugo Swan, pansexual posh boy whose charm has about 5 years left on its lease. He runs a secret club and a side trade in blackmail. He's devoted to fulfilling everyone's worst impression of him and fascinated by the touched. Tom Riley, Dark Heart, and also Lizzie Kaplan's hot husband. Augustus Augie Bidlow, sweet, disarming nerd, and Lavinia's younger brother. He's a keen ornithologist. He finds the touched unnerving, but is drawn to him by his increasing infatuation with Miss Penance Adair, who you'll hear about soon, and by the schemes of his nefarious best friend, Hugo. Love triangle? Ooh, ooh.
Triangle, maybe. Speaking of Penance Adair, Anne Skelly, she's been in Vikings, Death and Nightingales. She plays Penance Adair, Amalia's dearest friend, a devout yet heretically progressive Irish girl. She has genius for invention. She is delighted by her power, but she's firm in her moral sense and will be guided by what's right over what's expedient every time. Awesome. Next, we have Ben Kaplan. He's been in The Children Act. He plays Detective Frank Mundy. Big, gruff, and deeply moral, Detective Mundy trusts no one. His reputation for sudden violence and excessive drink is not unwarranted. Frank finds himself caught between the powerful, who ignore the laws of the land, and newly empowered, who ignore the laws of physics.
Next up, we have Pip Torrens, who you'll remember from The Crown, playing Lord Masson, staunch, unflappable, and merciless in his defense of the British Empire. This former general, now peer, may be the only man who sees clearly what havoc these few strange people can wreak upon the established order, which he will protect, one way or another. We also have Zachary Momo from 7 Seconds playing Dr. Horatio Cousins, one of the few successful West Indian physicians in London. Married with a young son, Horatio's fortunes took a dark turn when he met Amalia and discovered his own ability. Now he works with her and the Beggar King, those who don't care who he is, or those who don't care who is or isn't different.
And next we have Kieran Sonia Sawar. She's been in Pure and Brexit, the Uncivil War. She plays Harriet Carr, a young Scottish Sikh. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sikh.
A young Scottish Sikh. Harriet lives with the orphans, but is accepted by both her family and her betrothed. Optimistic without being naive, Harriet is determined to live her life as she planned, despite its increasing weirdness. Next is Amy Manson. She's been in Torchwood. She plays Milady, committed by her husband and genuinely unstable. She's been warped by a power she can't understand and tortured by doctors intent on finding its source. She now lives underground, runs a gang, and is on an infamous murder spree. Awesome. And next we have none other than Nick Frost. He's been in Fighting with My Family and Shaun of the Dead and so many others.
Many.
He plays Declan Oren, aka the Beggar King. Charismatic and brutal, Declan runs or has a piece of most of the low-level criminal activity in the city. He's perfectly happy to help Amalia and her cause, and equally happy to sell them out. Awesome.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm so ready for his character, man. I can't wait.
Right. Rochelle Neal, Death in Paradise, is one of her credits, plays Anna Carby, aka Bonfire, one of the few we know, like, definitively what their power is. A career criminal who landed the ability to control fire and is happy to hire it out. Came up rough, stayed that way, but she's neither impulsive or cruel, just looking out for herself. Eleanor Tomlinson, who everyone really must know from Poldark. Mary Brighton, gentle but surprisingly resilient. Mary pursued the dream of singing on stage. A disappointing career and a broken engagement haven't diminished her spirit. She's going to be great, but she's going to be very surprised how. And okay, so Dennis O'Hare, like, what a coup to get this guy. He is from This Is Us, American Horror Story, Brothers and Sisters, True Blood, just a ton of other things. Dr. Edmund Haig, a gifted American surgeon. He uses his skills in the coldest, most brutal ways possible. But it's all in the name of progress. That sounds really scary.
Yeah. I'm getting real Frankenstein vibes from him. It's not going to be good.
Elizabeth Barrington from In Bruges and Naked. She plays Lucy Best. Dirt poor, adaptive, streetwise. There's nothing delicate about Lucy. Though she's giving up thieving to live with the orphans, her quick wit and high spirits mask the pain of a tragic past.
Sounds like a perfect Whedon character. Quick wit and tragic past. Okay, we have Ella Smith, who you'll remember from Ray and Liz and Kill Your Friends, who's playing Desiree Blodgett, a sex worker and increasingly a popular one. Her power makes men tell her everything on their minds, and they come away relieved in more than one sense. Unfortunately, what she's heard may get her killed. And Viola Preterjohn, who was in Counterparts and The Witcher, she's playing Myrtle Haplish, a middle-aged girl rescued from a family who cannot understand her, literally, as she can no longer speak English or anything resembling speech. She's thrilled to be living at the orphanage where she's everyone's favorite weird little mascot. And is clearly speaking Latin, calling it now.
I can't wait to see if that's true. So next we have Anna Devlin. She has been in All the Money in the World and Hannah. Already another cast member that was in Hannah. She is going to play Primrose Chataway, a 16-year-old Primrose. All she wants is to be a proper ordinary girl and not take up too much space, which at 10 feet tall is hard. Most everything is either dreamy, unfair, or too embarrassing to live through. Sounds very relatable. And next, and last but not least, we have Martin Ford. He's from the Intergalactic Adventures of Max Cloud and the Marine Close Quarters. He's going to play Nicholas Purple, aka Odium, the quintessential henchman. He looks as unpleasant as he smells, a side effect of his rather surprising turn. will do any kind of work for anybody's money.
All right. So we have some time to discuss stuff. So let's talk about, let me kind of lead a discussion and let's talk about the cast first. From both of you, who are your favorite characters? Who are you looking most forward to?
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead, Ty.
I think obviously because I'm such a fan of the actor, Nick Frost as the Beggar King is one I'm definitely wanting to pay attention to. I mean, I've loved him in Spaced and the Cornetto trilogy, obviously, but I recently watched Into the Badlands, giving it its second name drop for the day. And he was amazing as a more kind of morally grey character. So I'm very excited to see what he can do now that he's playing like a charismatic and brutal crime boss. I'm expecting him to be kind of sort of, if you imagine the character that Badger thinks he is, that's who Declan Oren is actually going to be. He's going to be kind of brutal, but funny. So you're never really sure if he's going to hug you or stab you. And that's always fun.
Or both.
And then Pip Torrens as Lord Masson. I've been watching Preacher at the moment, and Pip Torrens is in that, and he's just brilliant. So, I mean, I really can't wait to see what an actor who's, that brilliant at playing kind of unbalanced characters can do when he's given a script by Joss Whedon. Sure. It's going to be good.
Gina, who are you looking forward to?
Great choices, Tyke. I sound like a broken record if you've heard our podcast before, but I'm always going to say Mary Brighton, who is played by Eleanor Tomlinson. Okay, so the fact that she pursued her dream of singing on stage and that she had a disappointing career, I could personally relate. I'm still doing music, but, music and singing is a lot harder than people probably think. And I feel like I'm just going to relate to her. And the fact that in her character bio, it says she's going to be great. She's going to be very surprised how. I think that's actually really inspirational. Like, just because another dream happens or something else happens that you weren't expecting doesn't mean it's a bad thing. So I'm really excited for her arc personally. And then I have to mention, and this is so stereotypical of me, but I have to mention James Norton as Hugo Swan. The fact that he's a pansexual posh boy. I've been waiting my entire life for a character like this. And honestly, there aren't enough pansexual characters. Being sort of pansexual myself, I just think it's very not talked about, not shown. And the fact that he's pansexual in the Victorian era, that's very exciting. And again, I feel like hopefully there'll be also a love triangle with his character.
Yeah, and what fascinates me about Norton is this is compared to a lot of his other roles, he's very much the straight guy. He's very much the moral center. So it's going to be interesting to see him go in an opposite direction. And to talk about this kind of sexuality in that era is going to be fascinating because it is verboten, like no can do. I would really be remiss if I didn't call out Olivia Williams because I love Olivia Williams so much. She was so amazing in Dollhouse. And I just started watching Counterpart, which is on Amazon Prime, and it totally didn't expect the way this show is going. And she's in it. She showed up in the last few minutes of the first episode. And I was like, yeah. So it's a really great show. If anybody wants to watch it while you're waiting for the Nevers, there's a couple of the cast members appear in it. So, and the other one, I'm really excited to see Martin Ford because he's just so enormous. And he's like, if you follow his Instagram, he's a super nice guy, right? A family man, that kind of thing. He talks about his workout routine, but he's this massive bodybuilder and supposedly they're making him even more massive. And he just sounds like he's going to be completely frightening. And I just can't wait to see what they've got him doing. And finally, Ella Smith, because I think I'll identify with Ella Smith because she just sounds like the strong girl that puts on the act because really under all of it, she's got stuff to lose and she's vulnerable. And so, yeah. So, let's talk about behind the scenes. Like, I know, Gina, you love Seamus McGarvey. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yes, please. So in Los Angeles, I'm not going to get into too much details, I might have met someone that knows him very well. And when I met this person, I was like geeking out, and they might have shown me some really cool stuff of work that he's done, like behind the scenes stuff. And I was so happy. And this person said that he was so incredibly nice, obviously beyond talented. But yeah, I mean, his work speaks for himself. And even in the Avengers, like the cinematography, I mean, it's beyond gorgeous. I know obviously Joss like came up with a lot of the shots, but the way he frames things, like when the focuses on an object and then it like pulls away, like
right,
all that stuff is beautiful. The way the camera moves, it's just he's honestly one of the greats, and I'm so glad. Obviously, him and Joss work together so well, so I'm really glad that they're working together again. And Seamus does a lot of period pieces as well as modern stuff, but he does a lot of period pieces, so it's going to be cool to see him and Joss work together again, but instead of like a modern superhero film, it's a period piece. So I'm excited to see both of them tackle that together.
Anybody else, Gina?
Oh my God. I mean, obviously the writers, I mean, that goes
right
without saying. I feel like the costume and makeup, that team sounds incredible. I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. So the fact that Christine Blundell did the Sherlock Holmes films, that's obviously perfect. I love the Victorian era. I love the style. I love the makeup and the hair. And I'm also writing something in the Sherlockian world. So it's just going to be, I hope to see maybe some new things in the Victorian world that we haven't seen on TV when it comes to makeup and hair and costume. Not that we need it, but I think this show seems and sounds creative enough where we can have that. Something we've never seen.
What about you, Ty? Who are you? Who's behind the scenes are you looking forward to?
It's not really a single person that I'm interested in. What I really like is that they seem to have basically taken the cream of the crop from Game of Thrones. Like all the parts about Game of Thrones that were repeatedly praised and held up as being the best as currently on television.
Absolutely.
They've taken all of those people and just moved them straight over to this show. So not only does it mean we know we've got a very skilled, proven crew, but because they've just come off working together for like 7-8 years, we know they're going to work incredibly well as a team. So and it's often a case that when you get the first season, it takes a while for the show to really kind of find its look. But with this, it's a team that already can work together. They already know how to bring the best out in each other and how to balance out each other's work. So from the very first second of the first episode, it's going to be like they're in a 10th season already because they've got those years of working together to really create a firm bedrock that's going to allow the Nevers to really hit the ground running and just be the best it can possibly be from season 1, episode 1, and just like fire on all cylinders straight out of the gates. And the show's really going to need that in this era of kind of people tuning in for 30 seconds and then canceling.
I would have to say I'm most excited, except for Joss, obviously, is Doug Petrie. Because his Buffy episode spoke to me the most. Like Jane's great and Jane had some killer episodes, but between Doug doing Buffy, Pushing Daisies, Daredevil especially, he just knows how to put that knife in me and just go twist. So I'm really excited about him. And I'm really excited about Michelle Clapton. Like the costuming, I'm a costuming nerd. Hopefully we'll get to do a costuming episode before the show rolls. But she's from Game of Thrones. She kind of took the same angle on the costumes that the Lord of the Rings crew did, Weta Workshop, that said, we're going to make your clothes fine and authentic as they can be for whatever we're representing, whether people on camera can see it or not. So you'll know you're wearing it, right? You're wearing that help you build your character by wearing the finest things. So I'm super excited about that. So, Tyke, I know you have some theories, some really strange theories. Do you want to share?
Always. I never stop talking about them. My number one theory is that I strongly believe that Amalia's power isn't actually going to be a power. This whole show is based around the idea that these new people, the Touched, have arrived and they have these powers that shouldn't be. I have a distinct suspicion that Amalia isn't going to kind of present as having a power straight away. And it's going to be very kind of, what's her deal? And then the inciting incident for season 1 is going to be, we find out that her power is that she increases the strength of other people's powers. And so that allows her to be a pivotal figure without being kind of too strong, without overshadowing the other members. And instantly, within 1 second, that makes her the most wanted person in London.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, all those people, like, Anna Carby, who's burning people for money, Malady, who's doing crazy things on a murder spree. Suddenly all of them up their game 10 times just by having Amalia kind of standing within 6 feet of them. Suddenly she can, Anna Carby can set fire to a whole room instead of just a person. And people are going to, especially when you add that to Desiree Blodgett, who can make people tell the truth. So you amplify her power by 10. Suddenly all of Parliament can't lie, and that's all they do. So that's going to be quite important.
Bring her over here.
Exactly. I recently had a theory that I think Desiree Blodgett is going to work at Hugo Swan's club, because having a guy who specializes in blackmail and then a woman who specializes in getting the truth out of people, that's clearly going to be a connection there. That's my new favorite theory.
Yeah, we talked about that last episode, and I was really I didn't even think about that. So you also have a theory about Myrtle Hapslish and her speaking in tongues. So
yes. The idea, kind of what we've been pitched, is that she's just speaking this kind of strange gobbledygook. We floated a theory a while back in one of our episodes that actually she's speaking Latin or possibly Aramaic, or it's not that she's speaking gobbledygook. She's just speaking a language that the people around her can't understand. This was actually backed up. I don't know if she was meant to post it, but on her, I believe, Instagram, the actress in question posted a picture talking about how much she loves her new Latin teacher.
Ooh.
I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm saying the evidence supports it.
Interesting.
Gina, what do you think? Do you have any theories or insights or something you want to discuss?
Yeah. So I hope this happens. It might not happen, but I'm a sucker for those characters that start off a show on one side, and then on the other, then by the time the show ends, they're like on the other side, or they're kind of in the middle. So an example in the Whedonverse is like Spike, right? He starts off as a villain, then eventually he gets, on the good guy's side for a while, and it's complicated. So I hope Dennis O'Hare, Dr. Edmund Haig's character, the gifted American surgeon, I hope he is kind of that role. Like, I would love to see him be a little bit villainous in the first season, or honestly also help the good guys. But then maybe by the end, he's like that unwilling person that helps the good guys. I really want to see that, just because I love those kind of characters. And I feel like maybe as a surgeon, he could be in both sides. So we'll see.
Well, we all know Joss has never seen a redemption arc he didn't like.
Very true.
Indeed.
I'm looking forward to the way Joss tackles social stuff, to social mores, taboo subjects. His favorite things, as we just discussed, are redemption, death, love, loyalty. But he also goes into a fair bit of feminism, gender politics. And I'm hoping also, because Victorian England is the perfect frame for it, to talk about classism and fascism and almost corporatism in the frame of the Industrial Revolution, that kind of thing, and how it oppresses and separates classes really severely, because this was also at least in America, the Gilded Age, right? When there were all these super, super wealthy billionaires that built these massive mansions, and this is where the labor movement came from, and child labor laws and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that he'll put a kind of spotlight on that as well, kind of the Dickensian, if you will, sort of facets of that society.
Yeah,
There's
a lot to dig into there, so that would be a really interesting angle to explore.
I'm not asking for much. So, Gina, who are you dressed as today?
I am dressed as Kylo Ren. Usually I have black hair when I'm dressed as Kylo Ren. However, it's really hard to get out of your hair. And I just dyed my hair, so I didn't want to do that. So pretend maybe Kylo decided to dye his hair pink for a hot second.
It was coming out day yesterday. It's,
exactly.
Hey.
He could come out. I also want to just light up my lightsaber for a second.
Do you have the helmet?
No.
Oh,
because I'm Kylo from The Last Jedi, and in The Last Jedi, his helmet is
busted up.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
In case no one noticed me being stupid during my intro, I'm the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
I have a Cheshire Cat Kirigimi, so it's not. I'm a big Alice in Wonderland fan. I know that's kind of basic, but hey. So Tig, who are you dressed as?
Can't you tell? I thought it was pretty obvious.
No.
I'm that one douchebag that turns up to the Halloween party, isn't wearing a costume, and then spends the whole evening coming up with these ridiculous explanations as to why he actually is in costume while he's actually just wearing his normal clothes.
You do at least have your Nevers t-shirt on, though,
yeah.
Right?
I do. You can't see it because of this, my mic, but yeah, it's there.
There we go.
I was hoping you would either have like the Oz thing going on with just the name tag that said God.
That was my second choice, but I couldn't, short notice, I couldn't find those little name tag stickers, so I couldn't do it.
And then I was also hoping you would dress up as Giles.
Yeah.
That would have been good, yeah, but I don't have a tweed jacket.
Maybe, I'm not going to spoil it or give it away, but maybe in another episode of the Nevers podcast, you might get a chance.
I very much could, yes.
So the Nevers, where and when will it air? It will air on HBO and HBO Max. For international viewers, it will more than likely play on whatever network is currently airing HBO shows in your country. What is that for you, Tig? Who does your HBO?
Right now, I believe it's Now TV, which is a subscription service. And if you have Sky, I believe it's on Sky Atlantic. For people that don't have Sky, it's on Now TV, which I believe is Sky's UK streaming service. That's where I watch Game of Thrones. So I'm hoping it's going to be there. Because if it's not, I might not be able to watch.
That would be bad. I don't know how we would figure that out. Yeah. As far as we know, it will premiere in 2021. Pardon my allergies. Like Denver is overcome with smoke right now, and my eyes and nose are going crazy. We don't know what quarter it'll air in. We were hoping for spring before the COVID shutdown came, and now we don't know. We had word secondhand that Dennis O'Hare said it was definitely going in 2021. So fingers crossed. So with Joss in full creative control on a channel known for excellence, big budgets, free of censorship and interference, as well as being chock full of talent behind the camera, and as well as in front of it, this could be Joss's latest and maybe greatest masterpiece. How do you guys feel about that? Like Buffy is a tall order. We all know it's all of our favorites, right? So what do you think? You think this has the ability to lap Buffy?
Ooh. Okay. So, and I feel like everyone feels this way in this panel, and hopefully out there, whoever's watching. So big budget doesn't mean it's better, right? However, we do have an amazing creative team in front and behind the camera. I think it will really depend on the writing for me. If the writing, and it doesn't have to be similar to Buffy, but the writing with the world, in Victorian England, with the characters, right? if the writing is just as like universal and relatable as Buffy, it could beat Buffy just because it also has a bigger budget. Those are my thoughts.
What do you think, Ty?
I would have to agree. I mean, I do think one of the main reasons so many people love Buffy is just because it's the only time Joss was able to actually execute his full vision. We don't know if something like Dollhouse or Firefly could have lapped Buffy if it was actually given the chance.
Sure.
So knowing that he's working with a network that will actually let him put his full vision across, I think it has the best chance it's ever had. And knowing that he, like, looking at the crew, the cast, the little snippets we get from him, it looks like he's really putting everything he has into this. So, I mean, I think it's kind of almost now or never. This is his shot to just absolutely shoot the moon and take over the world. So
now or never.
I do know.
I fully think that Firefly had the ability, just from what we saw of it, to match Buffy. But I also think it's like the same but different, like, sort of thing. Like, you wouldn't actually talk about one being better than the others because it's apples and oranges. But I thought Firefly was the only one that really came close in its short lifespan to beating Buffy. The Nevers supposedly went straight to series. There wasn't even an approval of a pilot. We know it's going for at least 5 years. So will it fully realize his vision? And will we get the Joss we've been waiting for since Buffy, basically? I don't know. I hope it's as magical and as challenging as all of his other stuff is, whether flawed or not. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other thoughts before we start wrapping up?
Actually, Tig, we've mentioned this in other podcasts.
Yeah.
If you viewers and listeners, if you guys see the character breakdown, it seems like there's 3 different kinds of worlds that these characters might live in, right? So that's going to be really interesting. Like, will it have a structure like Game of Thrones where it kind of goes in between the different worlds and then sometimes they overlap? I mean, I feel like TV shows always have that anyway, like an A, B, and C story. But I think it's going to be really fun to see that. And I don't know if you remember, Tyke, from the top of your head, like, I don't know, some of the characters in some of the worlds that might be.
There's a very distinct kind of upstairs, downstairs feel. There's
Right.
kind of the upper tier of Lord Masson and Edmund Haig, who are very much kind of in the upper class of Britain. And then there's sort of the gangsters and hookers very much living in the underground. So I think, and then in the middle, we have the orphans who are sort of not really part of either world. So it's going to be very fun seeing how the orphans that are very much the middle part interact with the upper and lower tiers. So I think that's definitely one thing we have to really look out for.
I have threatened to do like one of those. We talked about this last episode.
We did.
Threatened to do one of those crazy from serial killer movies and stuff where they do that crazy pin where everything's connected and who's connected to who. But I totally agree. Tyga and I talked about the upstairs downstairs thing that Lavinia's upper class, Lord Masson is landed gentry, right? Augie's upper class, and then you have the middle class, like probably the cop. The doc, Horatio Cousins, possibly Haig is either one. And then I think the orphans are probably considered lower class along with prostitutes and the gangs and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how it breaks out and how they all crosswalk to each other. It's super fascinating.
Yeah, and I feel like Olivia Williams' character, Lavinia Bidlow, she's known as a wealthy spinster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting too. And she funds the orphanage. So that's really cool that she's wealthy, yet she's working with these people that aren't. So that's cool.
Yep. So we hope you're excited to visit some of Joss's enduring themes of redemption, equality, love, and death, as well as some of the new ones reflecting our current turbulent times with this phenomenal cast, this crew, this channel that seems to really give creators their heads and let them do what they need to do to tell their story. It's really hard not to be. We want to thank everyone for coming to WhedonCon. We hope you enjoyed our panel. they're helping to raise money for the Los Angeles LGBT Center, as well as the Wooten Youth Center Ron Glass Memorial Scholarship Fund by attending WhedonCon.
That's amazing. So thank you guys so much for attending our panel. We had a blast chatting about what's sure to be our new favorite show next year. We hope you enjoyed yourselves, and hopefully you're leaving the panel a little bit more informed and more excited about Joss's new show than when you came in. We cannot wait for the Nevers. It's going to be so good.
So hyped. And if you've enjoyed hearing us nerd out about the Nevers and would like to hear more of our slightly more in-depth discussions on the series, as well as many of Joss's other works, please subscribe to the Nevers podcast. We're on any major streaming platform. You can find us anywhere, and as well as the newly launched Amazon Music podcasts. So look for us there.
Cool. So you can visit us on hbothenevers.com, where you can view set photos, read articles, interact with other fans, and stay in the loop on all Nevers news. Also, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at hbothenevers and the Nevers podcast with no A. Again, thank you guys so much for attending, and hopefully we will see you guys soon.
Yay. Bye.
You rock.
Bye.
Catch you around.